supposed to enjoy. And I didn't feel like a man, but I did feel like an it. You know what I'm saying? I just kind of felt like that. So when I became Spirit-filled, the Lord started working on me from the inside out. And he started restructuring my thinking and my heart to line up with his thinking and his heart. And that religion started slowly falling off of me, and I began to understand the freedom he was giving me to become the woman that he had created to be. I didn't realize how incomplete I had been before that time. And he wanted me to walk in fullness, this kind of fullness. I'm sure that's what it means. One day after I'd been walking with the Lord in a Spirit-filled way for several years, and I was just feeling rather proud of myself that I'd made some growth, you know. And so quite boldly, I went before the Lord, and I said, Lord, just tell me my faults. I want to know what they are, and I can deal with them, because I am a woman, you know. Now, my goodness, I mean, see how God's been gracious with me. I should have been dead with all these times that I went before the Lord. But he was very sweet to me again that day. And I will never forget what he said to me, because I said, show me my faults. And he said to me, I see you complete. And I was very humbled by that, because I knew I wasn't complete, that I did have the faults. But through his love, he saw me complete. And it just made me fall so in love with him and want to please him and walk in the fullness that he had for me. To get out of my incomplete state and walk in the fullness of his plan for my life. So, put that here. Mm-hmm. 1960s, very influenced by Jacqueline Kennedy. Can you tell? Very influenced by her. I think this is a very sweet little spring dress. This would be great for Easter. I love the purse. Is that too cute? It had her little off-white hat. By the 60s, the shoes were very pointed toe, very narrow heel. This is exactly what's in fashion today. Exactly. Right? Now, this is the perfect little Easter outfit, don't you think? The interesting thing is, when I got the dress, it still had the tag on it, which tells me the person never wore it. But she must have really liked it, because she had another one just like it that still had the tag on it. She'd never worn it, but she must have really liked it. She must have really liked it. She had another one. You've never done this, have you? Buy one in every color. She never wore those dresses. But she probably might have said to her husband at one time, you know, Easter's coming up, and I would like to have a new dress. All right, I'm not going to church because I have nothing to wear. You've got 3 dresses here that you've never worn. Well, I don't have a hat to go with the one that I want to wear, so I'm not going to go. You know, if I had a better vacuum, I would keep my house clean. If I had more money, I would start the business that I've always wanted to start. Now, if I could only move to a different part of town, I'd be happy. There's a difference between a talker and a doer. Big difference between a talker and a doer. I used to be a big talker. Had all these ideas, but I also had all these excuses why I could never do any of them. Satan didn't have to give me a hard time. I just took care of myself. You know, I made excuses for myself. Well, if this would happen, then I would do that, you know. If so-and-so would stand over there, then I'll go up and prophesy. But if they don't, I'm not going to, you know. I'm not going to read my poem that I wrote because this didn't happen. Do you see my point? There's a difference between talking and doing. A huge difference. And we've got to become doers. Now here's the lesson the Lord taught me in order to help me get out of making excuses for myself. He said, begin with what you have. Don't be dreaming about what you don't have, or if only this or if only that. Look around at what you have and begin with it. And if you look around and don't see anything to begin with, look harder, because you will find something. When I first started doing the programs on the history of fashion, people wanted me to use live models. And I did that a few times, but it's very hard to use live models with antique clothing. So I thought, there's got to be a better way. And I thought, I'll use dress forms. That's what I'll do. I'll use dress forms to be my models. Well, I had decorated my house with all kinds of antique dress forms. They were all over the house with clothes on them and everything. And the Lord said, look around your house and start with what you have. Because I said, you know, new dress forms would really look nice. Because my antique dress forms were like kind of leaning to the left. They were kind of wobbly this way. The top would fall off. One leg was missing on the bottom. It'd have to be propped up. The Lord said, no, begin with what you have. Life-changing lesson for me. I apply that to everything in my life. When the Lord puts me in a position to do something or asks me to think about getting involved in something, I don't even talk anymore. I just look around and see what I have and begin with that. And then the Lord is faithful to bless the journey and get you there where you need to be and provide as you go along. Let's read Colossians 3:23 and 24. This is my work ethic, by the way. If you don't have a work ethic, I'm giving you this one. And we need to read this with gusto. Alrighty, here we go. Whatever you do, do your work heartily as for the Lord rather than for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of inheritance. It is the Lord Christ whom you serve. Isn't that the best work ethic ever? With that attitude, you will stop talking and you will become a doer because you are doing it unto the Lord. The years I taught school, I realized very quickly every day that I went into the classroom, I needed to teach as unto the Lord. The principal, the parents, and the children were kind of the side note of that. You're going to do a pretty good job when you realize that it's unto the Lord and He is going to hold you accountable. It will cause us to become doers instead of talkers. Well, then we move on to Little Miss 1970 here. And you know, this was the new revolution in fabric, polyester. Of all the garments up here, to get them ready to bring, I had to steam them and iron them and press them and work with them a little bit to get them to look nice, except for Little Miss Polyester here. I did not have to do one thing to this outfit. Polyester never changes, never wrinkles. You can almost get any kind of spot out of polyester. It doesn't really absorb a spot so much. She likes to wear these big flower pins that were popular in the 70s. Cute little hat. This would be a very typical Easter outfit in the 1970s, or for Mother's Day. Cute little life-stride shoes. A lot of chunky heels in the 1970s, not so narrow and thin. Of all the clothes up here, this is the one that will last forever. And I mean forever. It will never disintegrate in a landfill. Somebody will be able to dig it up and wear it. Everything else is going to fall apart. This will never fall apart. It is here to stay. It's what I would call a steadfast garment. It is never going to change. It is what it is, and it is never going to be any different. It is there to stay. It is really important in our Christian walk that we have core values and that we know exactly what they are and that we are committed to them on a daily basis. And our core values line up with the Word of God. They are not negotiable. They are not. You don't even entertain the thought. Now, it's interesting that we have core values and other things in our life. When my grandkids come over, they are not going to jump on the furniture. And that is not negotiable, and they know it. And I won't change on that, right? People have core values about their car. You're not going to eat food in my car. You know, you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. But sometimes when it gets to our Christian walk, we feel comfortable compromising our core values for some reason. I have seen this many times because of my husband being in ministry. A Christian person, a good Christian person, who's going through a hard time will just chuck everything and go out and sin and do all kinds of stuff that isn't in line with the core values that they have been living with. We have got to get to a point of understanding they are not negotiable. They are not. They are like breathing. They're just a part of you and they're not leaving. Here's some adjectives for steadfast. Unshakable, always there, firm, solid, not compromising. It's always going to be there.